From everyday chicken to luxury Wagyu, every meat tastes different for a reason. Here are 8 meats explained simply in 10 minutes. 1. Beef, the king of red meat. Beef comes from cattle, and for many people it sits at the top when it comes to rich, satisfying meat. The first thing you notice about beef is its deep flavor. It is heavier, stronger, and more filling than most other meats, which is why it often feels like a main event on the plate. One simple idea explains why beef can taste so good, and that is marbling. Marbling means the thin streaks of fat running through the meat. When you cook it, that fat melts into the muscle and keeps it juicy and soft. That is why a well-marbled steak feels tender instead of tough. Different cuts of beef give very different experiences. Ribeye is known for its high fat and tenderness, making it one of the most flavorful cuts. Sirloin is a bit leaner but still balanced, while brisket is tougher and usually slow-cooked for hours until it becomes soft and full of flavor. People love beef because it feels premium. It is juicy, rich, and satisfying in a way that lighter meats usually are not. At the same time, that richness is also its downside. Beef can feel heavy, and it is often more expensive than other meats. Still, for many, nothing beats that moment when a good piece of beef just melts as you eat it. The more fat inside the meat, the more it melts in your mouth. 2. Chicken, the everyday protein. Chicken is one of the most common meats in the world, and there is a simple reason for that. It is easy, affordable, and works in almost any dish. Chicken comes from poultry, and unlike beef, it has a much milder taste. That might sound like a weakness, but it is actually its biggest strength. Because the flavor is not strong, chicken takes on whatever seasoning, sauce, or spices you add to it. It adapts to almost any cuisine, from spicy curries to grilled dishes to fried comfort food. Different parts of the chicken give different textures and experiences. The breast is lean and high in protein, but it can dry out if you overcook it. Thighs are softer and juicier because they have more fat, and wings are loved for their crispy skin and flavor. Chicken dominates daily meals because it is practical. It cooks quickly, it is widely available, and it fits into both simple home meals and restaurant dishes. The only real downside is that it can become bland or dry if not handled properly. Without seasoning or careful cooking, it loses its appeal. Still, its flexibility keeps it on top. Chicken is the blank canvas of meat you decide the flavor. 3. Lamb, the bold flavor meat. Lamb comes from young sheep, and it stands out the moment you taste it. Unlike chicken or even beef, lamb has a strong and slightly gamey flavor that is hard to ignore. Some people describe it as earthy, while others say it has a distinct richness that feels different from any other meat. This bold taste is exactly why people either love it deeply or avoid it completely. Lamb is used in a wide range of dishes across the world. You will find it in grilled chops, slow-roasted legs, and rich curries that bring out its deep flavor. When cooked well, lamb can be incredibly tender and juicy, especially when paired with spices or herbs that balance its natural taste. People who enjoy lamb often say it feels more special and flavorful than everyday meats. However, that same strong character can be its weakness. For some, the smell and taste are simply too intense. It is not a neutral meat, and it does not try to be. That is what makes it unique. Lamb does not sit in the middle. It stands out. You either love lamb or you do not. 4. Goat, the underrated lean meat. Goat meat, often called mutton in many regions, is one of the most widely eaten meats in the world, even though it does not always get the same attention as beef or chicken. It is especially popular across South Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Africa, where it is used in everyday cooking and traditional dishes. Goat has a very different profile compared to other red meats. It is much leaner, meaning it has less fat, which changes both its texture and taste. The flavor of goat is slightly earthy and more subtle than lamb, but it still has a firm and noticeable character. Because it is lean, the meat can be a bit tougher if not cooked properly, which is why it is often slow-cooked in stews or curries. This allows the meat to become tender while absorbing the spices and flavors around it. People who eat goat regularly appreciate its balance. It is flavorful but not overwhelming. 5. Pork, the most versatile meat. Pork comes from pigs, and it is easily one of the most flexible meats you can cook with. What makes pork stand out right away is its fat content. Compared to lean meats like chicken or goat, pork has more fat running through it, and that fat carries a lot of flavor. When cooked properly, it can be incredibly juicy, rich, and satisfying. This is also why pork can take on so many different textures depending on how you cook it. You see pork in many popular forms. Bacon is one of the most loved, known for its crispy texture and smoky taste. Ribs are another favorite, often slow-cooked until the meat becomes soft and falls off the bone. Pork chops are a more straightforward cut, which can be grilled or fried for a quick meal. The beauty of pork is how easily it changes. It can be crunchy when fried, juicy when grilled, or smoky when barbecued. Few meats offer that kind of range. 6. Turkey, the lean alternative. Turkey is a large type of poultry, and it is often compared directly to chicken. At first glance, they seem very similar, but turkey has its own identity. The biggest difference is how lean it is. Turkey generally has less fat than chicken, which makes it a popular choice for people looking for a lighter protein option. This lower fat content also affects its taste and texture. The flavor of turkey is mild, but it is slightly stronger than chicken in a subtle way. The main challenge with turkey is that it can dry out quickly if not cooked carefully. Because it lacks fat, it does not stay juicy as easily. This is why cooking methods matter a lot, especially when preparing larger cuts like a whole turkey. When done right, though, it can still be tender and enjoyable. Turkey is commonly used in Western meals, especially in large gatherings where it is roasted and served as a centerpiece. It is also widely used in deli meats, sandwiches, and ground meat options as a substitute for beef. Many people choose turkey because it feels like a healthier alternative. It offers high protein with less fat, which fits well into balanced diets. 7. Duck, the luxury poultry. Duck is another type of poultry, but it feels very different from chicken or turkey. The moment you taste duck, you notice how rich it is. Duck has a higher fat content, especially under the skin, which creates a unique cooking experience. When prepared properly, the skin becomes crispy while the meat stays tender and juicy underneath. That contrast is one of the reasons duck is often seen as a premium option. The flavor of duck is deeper and more intense than most poultry. In fact, many people say it tastes closer to red meat than to chicken. It has a rich, almost buttery quality that stands out in any dish. This makes it popular in more refined or special meals rather than everyday cooking. One of the most famous dishes is Peking duck, where the skin is roasted until perfectly crisp and served with thin slices of meat. 8. Venison, the wild game meat. Venison comes from deer, and it feels very different from the meats people eat every day. The first thing you notice is how lean it is. Venison has very little fat compared to beef or pork, which gives it a firmer texture and a cleaner taste. Instead of being heavy and rich, it feels lighter but still full of flavor. The taste of venison is often described as earthy and slightly gamey. That means it has a natural, wild flavor that comes from the animal's diet and environment. It is not as strong as lamb, but it is definitely more noticeable than chicken or turkey. This unique flavor is what makes venison stand out. It feels more natural and less processed than farm-raised meats. Because it is so lean, cooking venison can be tricky. If you cook it too long, it can become dry and tough very quickly. That is why people often cook it carefully, either quickly over high heat or slowly with moisture to keep it tender. Cuts like venison steak can be very soft when done right, while tougher parts are often used in stews.